All right, I see folks are logging in out of the waiting room, so I just want to extend a warm welcome to all of you and thank you for joining us today for this webinar on the Master of International Business program here at the Smith School of Business. We'll just give it a moment here before we get started and looking forward to sharing some details with you about the program, including an exciting update to the program recently. So we'll just give it a moment and we'll get started. Okay, well, let's jump in. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items. We are recording today's session, and everyone that's registered will get a copy. We also definitely want to make sure that what you came seeking today, you leave with. So be prepared to send in those questions. You can do that at any time during the session using the Q&A button on your screen, and we will answer those in real time. So definitely want to make sure we're going to do a high level coverage of both the program as well as some recent updates. And then we're also going to get into kind of some support structures as well as the application process. So that's our plan for today. But again, if there are specific things that you are hoping to get, please feel free to submit those questions. And as I mentioned, we will get to them as we go. So first of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Carrie Regan. I'm the program director for the Master of International Business. I am joined by my colleague, Jen McNeely, who is the assistant director, and we may see our application advisor, Carrie Fraser, join us as well. But if not, we'll certainly, Jen and I can speak to the application process for the program for those of you who might be considering an MIB in your near future. So thank you again for joining us, and let's get right into today's content. So realizing that there may be some of you on the call that have varying degrees of understanding of what this incredible and unique degree is, I thought I would start by just providing some high-level features related to this degree. So this program has been running for nearly 20 years here at the business school, and really the development of it was grown out of our incredible strength as a school with building international relationships with business school partners around the world. For those of you who've spent any time on our website, you may see we do have partnerships with some of the best business schools in countries all over the globe. And really what this degree is designed to do is to help undergraduate business students, new grads, recent grads, really take their business studies to another level, and obviously with a focus on global opportunities and helping companies understand and enable them to seek opportunities around outside of the world, in the world. Obviously, the curriculum itself really speaks to that. How do companies remain competitive in a global landscape? How do companies seek opportunity on a global landscape, as well as how do you navigate, some of the social, governmental, political issues that are happening? And certainly there has never been a more unique time, I don't think, in our recent history to have those conversations than right now. So really, this is a program that has been in many ways ahead of its time for a long time. And that really creates the opportunity for candidates coming through this program to create a really unique profile and be able to offer companies on the other side of it something truly unique and of value to them. So the program, as you'll note as we go through the presentation, has embedded international opportunities. It focuses a lot on team and your ability to not only be an effective team member, but also how to learn to lead and influence in the context of a team. Incredibly valuable skills and things that our corporate partners tell us are absolutely necessary and expected from business graduates. But the one thing we're going to really lean in today on is this idea of experiential learning. And we've done that again for many years through exchange, through double degree opportunities, as well as the Global Consulting Project, which is a year-long hands-on opportunity to work directly with a corporate client in a global virtual setting. Because at the time that you're doing a lot of that work, many students are spread out around the globe, completing exchange and double degree requirements, and in the context of today's conversation, also possibly internships. So let's talk about that and what that sort of looks like as a unique opportunity for those of you considering the program. So this is a recent update and something we are very excited about here at the business school and certainly in the MIB office here. So we've been talking over the last couple of years about different changes to the program. We've made a couple of tweaks on curriculum, a couple of tweaks on program operations, really just taking into account feedback from our alumni and students, listening to our corporate partners, looking broadly across the industry to say, you know, where is higher education going? What should we be offering our graduates or our students to make them, you know, really desirable talent for companies? And so one of the things that came out of that conversation was we really need to embed a 4-credit internship opportunity into our MIB program. And so I'm really excited to share that as of this coming fall, this will be an opportunity for students to participate in the program. So this will we'll sort of look at what that means specifically, but ultimately it means that you can integrate a work opportunity for credit as part of your degree and really leverage the resources and tools of a business school, a top business school like Smith, that has an incredible team of career professionals to gain valuable work experience in an effort to make you more desirable and be able to seek different outcomes at the end of the program. So again, some of the reasons why we've done this and why we think this is so important, again, is just to level up on that real world experience, that opportunity to, you know, apply your learning, get a taste of the real world, the professional world that can ultimately perhaps change the trajectory of your post-degree outcomes, but also enable you to seek new opportunities. We know that the opportunity to spend 3 to 4 months or longer inside an organization as a student intern can obviously give you great access to networking and people in industry that can really help inform what your next step might be. And then certainly, as this is an early career program, many of our students are coming directly into MIB from their bachelor's studies. Obviously, cost plays a significant factor in that decision. And so these will be paid internship opportunities. And so it's really a way that students can really help offset the cost of the degree by earning during the program itself. So again, we looked at a number of different resources in coming up with this opportunity and really thinking about ways that we could continue to enhance this experience for students. Let me just say that I think we've already done an incredible job in creating a unique experience for students that really helps give them valuable and essential skills for the world of work. And this is just another way I think that we've been able to enhance that. So there were a couple of key things that kept coming up in our research around why an embedded internship would be helpful to our students. And one of them was certainly, again, in terms of increasing the number of offers. When you can demonstrate to a prospective employer, you know, that you've had on the job training, that you've got work experience that you can leverage, that can be very compelling. Certainly from an employer perspective as well, if they've had an opportunity to see your output and see what you can do in the context of an internship, you know, it opens the doors for potential conversations about more long-term opportunities. And that's certainly something that we hope will be the result of this offering as well. We've also seen that internships during study can have an impact on post-degree salary. And so, you know, we've heard from our alumni, from our students, that these are things that are important to them. And the program has very good career outcomes historically, but the reality is we are living in a very unique period in time. The cost of living is high. You know, everything is getting more expensive. And so when students, I think, are making the choice about where to invest as they're coming out, do they go directly into the workforce? Do they do a master's? I think that these are some of the reasons why we would encourage students to really consider further study as a way to ultimately enhance those post degree outcomes. And so we're really excited about the way that this is going to impact students and open new doors and ultimately lead to further success down the road. So what does this ultimately look like? Well, essentially starting this fall, and so we are obviously recruiting for that class right now, students will have the opportunity to include a 4-credit internship, typically in a 3 to 4 months, into their study plan. So this has then resulted in the development of 2 new tracks for the program. One is the single degree, which traditionally has existed in a 12-month format, will now move to a 16-month format when you add the internship, although the 12-month format will still remain. And students in our double degree, which we'll talk about in a moment, again, another incredible, unique offering, that program track with the internship will remain at a 2-year or 24-month commitment. So it doesn't change the duration, it just changes the ultimate courses that you would take in addition to the internship and how that shakes out. So we'll talk about that in further detail. Again, we may have some students on the call today who are already enrolled for the program and maybe looking at, switching out of their existing track into one of the new opportunities, and we're certainly happy to talk to you about that, if that's of interest to you. So this is ultimately what our program looks like historically. I don't want to say currently because the internship is a go, so it has changed, but this is historically what it has looked like. So if you spend time on our website, you'll note that we have that 12-month single degree, and then you can bookend that program with another degree in what we call the double degree, either prior to or post your time here at Queen's and at Smith. So great opportunities, incredible way to add international, specialize through the double degrees, enhance obviously your global perspective and the experience that you've had. So what we've done in the context of this internship is essentially with the single degree, we've said, okay, we know that a lot of companies have internship programs, but some of the requirements dictate that the internship itself needs to be embedded in the degree. We know that students often need to be returning to full-time study in order for them to qualify for some programs. So our single degree with internship will now result in a move to a 16-month commitment. So you'll see the phase 1 is essentially the time here in courses, core requirements, and electives at Queen's. And then you would move directly from there into the internship as opposed to, let's say, an exchange. So you would go and you would work for that winter semester. You're also at that time still working on that global consulting project with your team. And certainly we can get into more detail about that. But ordinarily students would be doing that alongside their exchange anyway. So it's not unusual for that consulting project to be something, that you're doing in addition to other things. There's no class requirements. It really is just the virtual connection to your team and to your client. Then in the summer term, again, you're really leaning into that global consulting project wrap up at that point. We could see potentially some students dabble in exchange at that point. We also leave this open and flexible. To some degree, students may be able to extend that internship into an 8-month commitment, which is really exciting. It just gives you, again, more of all these great things that we know this work integrated learning opportunity will provide. And then these students will do their international exchange at the end of the program in the fall semester. So it still has many of the great components. We've not taken anything away. If anything, we've just really looked to enhance that experience, but ultimately that has resulted in the program being extended. So that's important to note. I now just want to talk a little bit about what the impact is on the double and high level. If you've not had an opportunity to review these are really incredibly unique offerings. There are not many schools in North America, in Canada, that are offering this level of connection to global partners, the ability to specialize, and really dig into a second degree as part of your learning path. And so obviously we have a lot of concentration in Europe. Our two newest partners are located in Central and South America, and obviously we have Australia as well. So lots of great choice. Students will choose their double degree based on a host of factors. You'll see here from this slide that many of them offer a different type of degree. So it's a great way to complement your Smith learning with something, again, a little bit more specialized. Most of them are a 2-year commitment. We do have the Maastricht opportunity with 16 months. And I will say just off the hop, both Maastricht and Inkai double degrees are unfortunately not included in the internship simply because of their structure, but everything else is open for that opportunity. So let's talk a little bit about what this looks like with the internship embedded in the program. So you'll see that Queen's portion in the sort of lighter purple doesn't change all that much. You'll still do your core requirements. You'll essentially do your electives either through exchange, depending on the partner school, or electives here at Smith in the winter, and then you ultimately would sit an internship in the summer term. So it gives you a little bit longer runway to find a job and secure those positions. And that would happen then prior to that second year that you would do at the partner school. So that's kind of one option. The other option is, again, we do have a couple of double degrees where students that get admitted actually go abroad for year one and then spend their second year back at Queen's. So again, Inkai is one of those options, but unfortunately, just based on the way that program runs, the internship is not an option. But certainly for Mannheim and Bocconi, you would complete your requirements there, do that internship over the summer, and then come and start your year at Queen's. So a little bit more challenging perhaps in the sense of you're going to need, depending on where you want to do that internship, you may need to be plugged into the Career Center at Queen's while you're abroad to help secure some of that. But that's all possible, and we're happy to support students for whom that's the case. So that gives you a bit of a high-level understanding, hopefully, of the structures and how internship will be embedded into these opportunities. So let's, when we talked about this and we thought, okay, for students who now might be considering this and wanting to add that internship, what are some of the things that might be top of mind for them as they start to think through how this applies to the experience? And so we've sort of put together some FAQs. These are all on our website as well, but we thought maybe we would address some of them live. So maybe, Jen, I will throw these at you, and the two of us can answer them together, perhaps. So one of the questions that we thought might come up is, if I'm admitted into the internship track, does this mean that I'm guaranteed a spot? How would we respond to that?
We would say that you aren't guaranteed an internship. That work is going to be on you to secure an internship. We will provide all the resources for you to, get yourself ready to apply for internships, do your interviews, do your resume building so that it's Canadian style. We'll get you connected with our colleagues in the Career Advancement Center here at Smith. However, we will not guarantee you an internship. We are not handing those out. That will be completely up to the applicants to secure their internships.
Great. Thank you. And I know that's a big question that a lot of students will have, but we do have one of the best career centers in the country, as evidenced by the consistent placement on things like the FT rankings. So I have a lot of confidence that our students are going to feel really prepared and be really competitive for those. So thank you for that. Okay, another great question. Given the global focus of a program like MIB, does the internship have to be in Canada?
No, it does not. We would actually encourage people to look outside of Canada for an internship. We at Smith and within the MIB program, as people can appreciate, we have a ton of alumni that are living and working abroad. Again, happy to provide some resources and connections in different countries for people looking at different industries and stuff. But no, you wouldn't have to just look at Canada for an opportunity for an internship. That being said, we do feel that as an international applicant or an international student coming into the program, it could be a great opportunity for you to gain some Canadian experience. What we've heard from our alumni in the past, as they're trying to get out into their careers, is one of the questions that they do get asked is, do they have any experience, Canadian experience working in different industries? So we think this is a great opportunity for any international students to gain that experience while going through the program.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, last question. What happens if I'm admitted into an internship track, but I'm unsuccessful in acquiring a position?
We will change you back to either the 12-month single degree option, or we'll just keep you in the double degree, depending on which program you've applied to, and we'll ensure to get you into the appropriate amount of electives so that you are meeting the degree requirements. The one thing that I would say that we're very good at within the Masters of International Business program is being very fluent and flexible. And I always say it's choose your own adventure. And so it's not unusual for us to have a class of 85 students, but they're all doing different things to complete their degree requirements.
Yeah, that's a great summary for sure. Um, Okay, so I see we've got some questions coming in, which is fantastic. So we're gonna get to those in a moment as well. I did want to just, so Jen mentioned that, our careers team will be very involved in helping students through the acquisition of an internship. And so I think it's really important to highlight, how do they do that? And so this is essentially our career education framework that all students in the program will go through. What's really exciting is that, we offer this already. What will happen for students in the internship track is that you ultimately, though, will start this a little bit early. So this will be part of your onboarding more so than what happens when you're actually here in Kingston doing the degree. You will be engaging with our careers team over the summer prior to the start of the program, leaning into things like resume construction and making sure your personal brand and documents are really, really clear. Also engaging with our coaching team, who are, wanting to make sure you've got clarity on what it is you're seeking, how to position any experience that you've already got, how to engage with companies, how to do job search effectively, how to leverage all of the great tools that we have. So what's really great about this particular framework is that it's designed to meet you where you are. Some of you may have a lot of these things done already because either you've got prior work experience, you've maybe had some great career coaching in previous educational environments, etc. So you may be ready to engage at different stages of this model, whereas some of you, this may be kind of that initial, foray into kind of the professional environment. And so you may need to work a little bit more at that discover phase. Regardless, the programming is here for you and is here to help you get to that next stage. So we feel really comfortable launching a program like this because of all of the great infrastructure we already have in place. And it's a great way to continue to leverage that. So our careers team obviously focuses on that education piece, giving you the tools and resources that you need. And then obviously they have great connections with industry. They have great connections with prospective employers. We are already starting to communicate with them to let them know that we're going to have students available for internships in times of the year where we haven't traditionally. So it's not been unusual for students, both in MIB actually and our undergrad program, to engage in internships. They've not been part of the curriculum historically, but and they're sort of tied to specific times of the year when the students aren't in class. The fact that we're opening these internship opportunities up at times of the year where we haven't historically, we're really hopeful that we'll see a lot of interest and great engagement from our existing partners, as well as open the dialogue with new partners. So lots of great ways that we can help you get prepared for that. I think it would be remiss to talk about all the great things that we do in MIB around the learning piece without also talking about our focus on the student experience and what does it mean to be a professional graduate student here at Smith. Jen, this is something that you have really led the charge on. This has been so important to you as long as I've known you. I don't know if you wanted to highlight some of the ways in which we really focus on those things outside the classroom.
Yeah, we see students being successful in the classroom, in the fact that, it's an academic program that they're involved in, but it's also the community that the MIB program solidifies. So the students play an active part on the student experience piece. We work really closely with a voted in student exec council, and we listen to what the students are wanting. So in the past, we've done anywhere from cultural night or cultural afternoon where we celebrate the diversity within the classroom itself. As people can appreciate, this past year, we welcomed 82 students. They represented 19 different nationalities, and we want to embrace those nationalities and the diversity that students are bringing into Smith. So providing cultural night. We also appreciate the fact that sometimes students have never done trick-or-treating or Halloween, which is one of my go-to holidays. So I love to tell the students to dress up. We have several different departments here within Smith that allow students to go around and do trick-or-treating, so they get treats on that day. We take them bowling. We also reserve some of the gyms here on campus so that they can go and play dodgeball, volleyball. And so we just try and incorporate that community within the classroom experience, but then also outside of the classroom, taking them outside of Kingston, going canoeing or kayaking, try and take them on a boat cruise where they can see the Thousand Islands. The nice thing about Kingston is we are located on Lake Ontario, but then also the beginning of the St. Lawrence River where the Thousand Islands are. So just appreciating the fact that some people have never got to experience Canadian culture and Canadian environment. So get them outside of the class as well as inside the class.
Yeah, and to Jen's point, we find that the dynamic and those relationships that can come together do enhance what happens inside the classroom. And so it's not just about having fun, although that's definitely a key motivator, but it's about how do we then make sure those relationships are solidified, that students, that intimidation factor that might come from being in a new environment is taken away such that you can really engage in great dialogue, challenge each other in the classroom, learn from the faculty, and have this great learning experience. So they definitely are collaborative efforts for an intended goal. So again, Jen mentioned a number of these things. We really do wrap students in sort of a holistic support structure. The coaching and advising that comes either from academics, health and wellness, careers. We have an incredible team of people in our exchange office that support on the international mobility piece. Again, that customized career education and coaching support, second to none in the country. I feel very, very confident that students who engage often and early are absolutely on a track for success, and we have lots of great stories to support that. And then there's lots of ways for students to get involved. So if you want to have an impact on not only your own learning journey, but that of your peers, there's great ways to step up into leadership roles through the student executive, through student ambassadors, through legacy projects, and all kinds of things that students can get involved in during their time here. So it really is about not just about the academics, but it's about the growth, the transformation, and the leadership journey that students take by engaging and investing in a program like this. Okay, so we want to talk briefly about the application process. So we'll definitely dive in there as well. Talking a little bit about how do you ultimately make your application stand out? How do you become a competitive applicant? And how do you make sure that, and so things have changed and slightly shifted. Students will have to apply and get admitted into an internship track. It's not going to be a given that if just because you're admitted into MIB that you also are admitted into that internship track, because obviously we want to make sure that we're putting students into those that have the, greatest potential to be successful, as we do with all of our programs. So there are a number of specific components, and I'm not going to go through these in a lot of detail because they are all highlighted on our website. And I also will say we have an incredible unique way that we support applicants through the program. Every student gets access to one-on-one advising through our application and recruitment team to help you curate and package your particular experience in a way that's going to be compelling to the admissions committee. So certainly if you have questions about how your profile aligns up, my recommendation would be to get in touch with us. There's no commitment on the initial assessment to make sure that, a copy of your unofficial transcript and your resume can tell us a lot about your readiness for the program. And at that point, they would advise you as to whether or not they would encourage you to move forward, or if there's other things you might need to do for your profile, write a GMAT, take another course, etc., to make you more competitive. So I will just focus a little bit on the internship eligibility. Again, this is open to all applicants. In terms of those who will be successful, really these are some of the things you're going to want to focus on in the context of those parts of your application that you have control over. Your undergraduate studies, those are done. You can't do a whole lot about that. Again, ways that you can help offset an undergraduate degree that's not perhaps to your sense fully representative of your capabilities can be offset by things like the GMAT or the GRE, so you have that mechanism at your disposal. But really, it's about using the things like the cover letter, like your interview. Every student sits a one-on-one interview to highlight a number of these skills. And this isn't an exhaustive list. You certainly don't have to go through your cover letter and make sure you've hit every one of these bullets. But these are the things that you could use to highlight your readiness for an opportunity like this. So what is your level of self-awareness, communication skills? What do you know about going into industry? What do you know about your personal brand that's ultimately going to help make you competitive? What is your motivation for doing this? Do you have clarity on how you see yourself leveraging this opportunity? What sort of transferable skills? What have you done previously that you think would be of value to prospective employers through an opportunity like this? Openness to feedback, engagement and initiative. What have you done in the past that demonstrates some of those things? So these are just a few guiding bullets to help you think about the way that you might frame those previous experiences and your goals in a way that's going to give us confidence that if we put you into this track and give you the requisite resources and supports, that you're ultimately going to be successful. Because definitely we want to see students that we admit into this pathway be successful. That's definitely the goal, again, because it reflects and is reflective of just the value that we see this opportunity as having. So in terms of next steps, we are coming up to the end of our formal presentation, but again, I see some great questions here, so we're going to dive into those. The next thing you would want to do is submit, again, a copy of your resume and unofficial transcript as a preliminary step to understand your fit with the program. And you can do that in follow-up to the correspondence that you'll receive from us today or in the next day or so with a copy of the recording. We definitely want to hear from you. So, make sure that you do that. That's a great sort of non-committal way. You don't have to complete the whole application process. You can really just start with those preliminary documents as a way to determine if you have the right sort of basic ingredients to be successful in the process. Okay, so we've got some great questions that have come in. So let's spend a couple of moments addressing those. And again, if there's anything else that you are hoping to get from today's call and today's presentation, please pop those into the Q&A. So question, sorry if I misunderstood, but is an 8-month internship possible? And the answer for single degree students is yes. It is possible, and we will be in our engagement with our corporate partners, we will be advising that students could be available for that 8-month internship experience. It does still only count for one course, but if you're given the opportunity to have that extended experience in the context of the degree, it definitely is possible with the way that it's been structured for you to do that, which is really exciting. Could you please share the financing details for the single degree? So all of the fee information is located on our website. What I will say that's really important is that the internship integration isn't changing the cost of the program. So we have not added cost for students who want to explore this opportunity. If anything, the internship opportunity, because they have to be paid and they will be paid opportunities, help offset that cost. What it does, however, is spread the payments for the degree over 4 semesters instead of 3. So it means you're paying for a longer period of time, but those installments themselves will be lower. So right now, students pay 3 times over the course of a 12-month degree for the degree. Now it will be paid and 4 installments over the 16 months. Doesn't really change the timeline for the double degree, but it also doesn't increase the cost of the degree. So very important question. Thank you for that. And hopefully that answers that question. Okay, some great questions here. And some of this we may have touched on, but I'm happy to go back into that. Does the Career Center have partnerships with companies or connections to assist in finding the internship? So yes, we definitely will be communicating this and have been communicating this new experience with our corporate partners through the corporate relations team in our CAC. We're also extending the information widely to our alumni community through our advisory board, through the MIB alumni community, to say if you are working for a company that hires interns, we now have talent to be able, or we will have talent to be able to fill those positions. So certainly leveraging those relationships will be a big part of this in terms of supporting the students. Types of internship students are encouraged. So, I mean, honestly, our students end up working in such a wide spectrum and variety of industries. So we have graduates every year that go into consulting. We have graduates that go into banking and finance. We have graduates that go into CPG and retail. We have graduates that go into telecom or technology, startups. So I don't expect that changing really with regard to internship opportunities. The goal here, though, is that students are getting into career quality professional opportunities. So these are, internships that lead to full-time employment. There are internships that open doors for students. So that is the goal. They need to be full-time, they need to be paid, and they need to have structure. So there will be a vetting process for all students pursuing internships. We'll have to make sure because it is for credit, there is also going to be a role that employers will need to play in terms of helping us provide that assessment structure. So, yeah, so the goal here is definitely career quality opportunities. So here's a great question. How does the Master of International Business curriculum compare to that of an MBA? So the MIB is not an MBA. I want to be very clear about that. The MBA is really designed to take people traditionally who haven't done any business training and enable them to get that, comfort with the language of business, the functions of business, etc. Students in the MIB program already have that because they're all graduates of business programs at the undergraduate level. So you're not going back to do those foundational courses. You're now going into, we still have quite a broad curriculum. Like we do a course on leading global teams, which is leadership training and team training and leveraging technology training, project management, etc. Then students do course in business and the global economy. So how do firms compete and how do they manage those, again, geopolitical, social, economical issues that happen globally? How do you navigate that? How do you prepare for that? How do you mitigate against that? So those are some of the courses that our students will take. Global strategy, again, at the firm level, how do you create competitive advantage in a global context? Cultural, there's definitely a threading of cross-cultural learning and how do you effectively work in diverse settings that is part of the entire degree. But then we also have electives in finance and marketing and sales and analytics and entrepreneurship. So it still is a broad curriculum like an MBA. However, it's about next level learning. You're not going through the fundamentals. You're now talking about application. You're talking about strategy. You're talking about how do you now take those foundational elements and apply them in a new context. So that is what is ultimately the difference, I think, between kind of a broad strokes learning you do in an MBA versus something like MIB. Like we are creating subject matter expertise in this program. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about the fees. Please refer to our website for the exact amounts, but everything is broken down there and you can see what the installments look like. There's a question here about scholarships. We do have some merit-based scholarships that are awarded at the time of admission, so you don't have to apply separately for those. There's no question that this is still an investment. However, our return on investment is also very strong. So for students that are really looking to open doors, to seek opportunities outside of kind of the traditional pathway, and look at those in a global way, gain international experience, gain practical experience through both the consulting project and the internship, there really is not much else out there in the world, in North America like this. So it also helps you create really great stories. Our students have such incredible journeys to speak to as they're coming out of a program like this. And they are completely different people at the outset, or on the other side than when they arrive here. So that's the kind of transformational learning that you're looking for and you're ready for. This is absolutely something you should consider. Okay, someone asked as well about what are the courses like? Are they primarily in person? What is the learning environment? So yes, primarily in person. This is a 1-year commitment, or 1 or 2-year commitment, but fully in person. You really need to be ready to show up, to be engaged, to be prepared, to be challenged, to challenge others, have dynamic classroom and learning environments. We do rely fairly heavily on case learning in many of our courses, because again, all of our students have that foundational understanding. And so it's now about how do you put that into practice in different contexts? How do you put yourself into those decision-making environments where you now have to, leverage that understanding and apply it. So lots of participation focus, great discussions in the classroom, lots of great learning that way. We do have, however, a very mixed pedagogical approach. So in addition to case, our students also obviously do traditional lecture learning, also simulations, applied projects. Again, hopefully what you've also taken away from today is that we have a really strong preference toward experiential and the goal and the value of students learning by doing. Okay, some great questions. What are the chances of someone finding a job in Canada if they have no prior Canadian experience? I've heard that experience from other countries doesn't matter that much. So I understand that statement in a lot of ways. It's part of the reason why we wanted to embed the internship. This program is heavily populated with students from all over the world, partly because of the double degrees, partly because of, we actively seek that in terms of who we admit into the program. And so, as Jen noted earlier, this is something that our alumni have mentioned that they can struggle sometimes when they don't have experience in the Canadian market. So, the internship is definitely a way to help us give students that opportunity to gain that valuable experience that they can speak to. That being said, I think when you invest in a degree at a school like Smith, one of the things that you really are also buying into is the alumni community. And we encourage and we support and provide opportunity for all of our students to really leverage that alumni community. And they are amazing. And they can open doors and help you navigate that in a way that other schools just can't. So that is definitely a piece, but you have to be willing and ready to take advantage of that. So if you're not a natural networker, like this is an area that's going to require you to perhaps step out of your comfort zone. But again, we'll give you the tools, we'll give you the training, we'll open the opportunity up, but you really have to be ready to step into it. Hopefully that helps. How much is the fee expected to increase for the class of 27? So we uh if you're a domestic student, tuition fees essentially are frozen, so we don't anticipate major increases on that front. There are some non-tuition elements as part of the overall fee that we may see a slight increase in just due to regular inflation, but we don't expect huge jumps in the cost of the degrees at this time. Is there an employment report available for the MIB program? Yes, there is some information on our website that I believe has just recently been updated that speak to industries, that speak to locations, that speak to functions that our students end up working in historically. And again, we publish and report those on an annual basis. We also are a ranked program. So right now we sit at the top of the Canadian options on the FT, and certainly well amongst the top 100 master and management programs globally. And so we have a large emphasis on watching and making sure we understand how students are leveraging the degree and where they're ending up afterward. Is there any way to not have to do the exchange program since you've already done an exchange? So international immersive experience is a requirement for all students. That being said, we do have some flexibility with regard to the length of time you're on exchange. So some students who may wish to stay at Queen's longer for courses, you can do what we call a short-term exchange. Those are typically offered in the summer, and they represent the opportunity to do 1 or 2 courses on exchange as opposed to, say, a full course load. And they typically are a shorter time commitment of sometimes as only 3 to 4 weeks as opposed to 3 to 4 months. So we do have some flexibility because I can understand if you feel like you've done that, but you see value in the other components of the degree, this still could be an option. But we really do believe that that international immersive experience is part of how you take what we teach you in the classroom and really apply it in the context of the learning. So, but we can work with you on that, and there are some flexible options and lots of examples of students who've done exactly that, maximize their time at Queen's in terms of their courses, and then leverage some of those short-term opportunities as well. Okay, fantastic questions, everyone. Thank you for your engagement. Again, we've been working so hard on this particular update, so it's really exciting for us to have an opportunity to finally share it. We're so excited to see and to support students through this new part of the program, to engage our alumni and our corporate partners in a different way, ultimately helping our students achieve their goals faster, achieve new goals, and really seek out opportunities in a new way. So we really are excited. We hope to hear from you. There's lots of ways to engage with us. As I mentioned, you will ultimately get a copy of today's recording, as well as an invitation to engage with us further. So we really look forward to hearing from you. Happy to connect you with current students or alumni as well. So thanks so much for joining us, and for your time. And we can't wait to hear from you. So have a great day, everyone. Take care.